It was the kind of night that made secrets bloom. Rain painted wavering gold ribbons across the cafe windows, blurring the city outside into a watercolor dream. I pressed my hand to the warm ceramic of a mug, feeling the comfort seep up my palm as I tried to slow my racing thoughts. The aroma of freshly ground espresso wrapped around me like a safety net.
I'm so sorry, this is not
your
your
place,
order.
with its scratched wood tables and battered jazz records spinning in the background, had always felt like a haven. The only slice of certainty in a world that seemed to rewrite its own rules by the hour. 30 minutes before closing, I wiped the counter for the third time, glancing at the clock with a twinge of hope. Maybe just tonight nothing would go wrong. Maybe I could make rent, escape Marco's lingering gaze, and go home to my peeling walk-up with the soft hum of my space heater for company. I told myself I'd learned to find beauty in small endings and quiet, unremarkable nights. But I couldn't help flinching whenever the bell above the door trembled, each chime a reminder of how quickly things could change. My name is Ella, 27 years old. Tendency toward rambling thoughts and quick apologies, always working to erase the edges of bad memories. Tonight I felt almost at ease, or fooling myself into it. Sweet cinnamon buns were cooling by the register, their sticky scent threading through the air as the few remaining customers murmured in the safety of lamplight. The city outside sounded distant, angry, a world apart. I turned the music down and hummed along, voice barely audible, my mind wandering to the chance of something better. That's when it happened. The churning whir of an engine cut through the music, followed by silence so thick it felt like a spell. A black car, sleek out of place, slid into the space outside the cafe, headlights shuddered like a predator's gaze. I stilled, instinct prickling at the base of my neck. The last time something so expensive stopped here, it didn't leave quietly. A figure unfolded from the back seat, shadow stretched long by the flickering street lamp. He walked to the door with the grace of someone who knew exactly where danger lived and wasn't afraid to shake its hand. The bell sang, a crystal note sharp as glass. I froze, coffee mug burning in my grip. Why did it feel like my life was about to be rewritten by a stranger's arrival? As he stepped inside, umbrella snapping shut, the delicate calm I'd curated all evening seemed to shudder. My heart skipped once, twice. The world in the cafe narrowed to the sound of heavy footsteps and the barely perceptible shift in the air. I had no idea just how quickly ordinary could become extraordinary. I had no idea that tonight would change everything. The moment his gaze locked on mine, it felt less like meeting a stranger and more like surviving an interrogation. I froze behind the counter, arms folded tight to contain the jitter in my bones. The air seemed to thicken with his entrance, every patron pausing, as if pulled toward him by a gravitational secret nobody wanted to confess. It was the quiet before a storm, a tension with teeth. He walked straight to the farthest table, cornered, observing, claiming space like he'd designed it just for tonight. Rain glistened on his shoulders, suit pressed and dark, chin tilted with the weight of someone who never apologizes. His two men, immaculate but wary, fanned out to flank him. I tried not to listen as they murmured in a language I didn't understand, low and clipped, all sharp syllables and warnings buried in casual talk. I busied myself behind the espresso machine, palms clammy, replaying the script for ordinary nights in my head. Keep it moving, don't stare, offer a menu. Maybe I'd make it through with nothing more dramatic than a late tip. But as I reached for the next order, my hand betrayed me. A slip, a misstep. The kind of mistake that never mattered before. I filled the wrong mug, poured the wrong roast, and sent it out before my cautious brain could check the error. He didn't touch the cup. He didn't need to. His eyes held it for him, dark, steady, somehow both amused and disappointed. I felt heat bloom in my chest, embarrassment threatening to roll into panic. I went over, apology already burning my tongue. I'm sorry. That wasn't your order. I'll fix it, I stammered, voice thin. One bodyguard's jaw tightened, eyes flicking to his boss for permission to intervene. The man shook his head, lips curling up, barely a smile, barely a warning. Mistakes happen, but do you make them often? His accent was smooth as velvet, promise and threat braided together. I heard my pulse pounding, felt my heart in my ears. I forced myself to stand taller. Usually not with coffee, I said, trying for humor. Tonight's special, I guess. He leaned forward, elbows on oak, cold eyes tracking every movement. "Tonight is special. You're new here?" I hesitated. One of those moments where answering truthfully felt risky. "New enough," I replied, fingers pressing into the counter behind me. He watched me for another beat, silence stretching thin. "Most people blame the kitchen. You own it. I respect that." His words hung in the air, double-edged. Contrast shifted, the comforting hum of the cafe replaced by something sharp. The last regular hurried out, rain-slicked, barely looking up. His men took seats that blocked every exit. My world shrank to the space between us. My hands shook so badly I nearly dropped his corrected order. He reached out, stopping me with just a word. "Ella." He spoke my name like he'd known it forever, like testing the sound for weakness. The room snapped colder. Fear and defiance danced inside me, dueling for dominance. Could I escape if I tried? Why did being brave suddenly feel so foolish? He didn't let go of my gaze. "Bring my next cup yourself. No one else." No choice now. I nodded, heart thrumming, mind spinning. What was the real price of one trivial mistake? As I turned away, his men whispered, and the bell chimed again, louder, jarring. Something outside shifted. Threats didn't always announce themselves when they stepped inside. Sometimes they waited until you turned your back. He didn't wait for me to bring his order. Instead, movement caught my eye, a deliberate gesture. He rose from his corner seat as if unfolding from the shadows, stepping forward with a presence that made the cramped cafe seem suddenly too small. I felt every muscle in my body stiffen. The scent of rain clung to him, mingled with something sharp, cologne like black licorice. Expensive. Forbidden. Our eyes met again. I tried to look away, tried to pretend my hands hadn't started to sweat, but he held my gaze as easily as he held the air in the room. No hesitation. Just intent, sharpened to a point. He stopped an arm's length away. "Ella," he said, voice like gravel smoothed by silk. "You're not afraid of me, are you?" I blinked, not trusting my own voice. Should I be? A smile flickered, dangerous, amused, contained. "Yes." He reached for the mug, fingers brushing mine, lingering just long enough for me to feel the heat of his skin. I snatched my hand back, pulse singing in my ears. There was no purpose in pretending I wasn't shaken. His voice dropped softer now. "How long have you worked here?" 3 weeks, I replied, forcing calm into my words. "I'm just a waitress." He studied me, head tilted, inspecting. "Just a waitress," he echoed. "Would you let anyone else speak to you that way?" Confusion tangled with the urge to stand tall. Why did his questions have edges? "I manage myself," I said more firmly. His gaze hardened. "The world doesn't always allow that." Contrast snapped. The warmth of the cafe now a pressure against my skin. His men glanced our way, but he dismissed them with a sharp glance. For an instant, I thought I saw something raw in his eyes. Loneliness? Regret? It was gone before I could claim it. "You made a mistake," he said, the words precise, deliberate. "But you faced it. That's rare. Usually people run." "Some mistakes are easier to fix," I murmured, summoning courage. "Others ruin you." He leaned closer, voice thick with meaning. "I've ruined people. I remember their names. I don't forget those who stand their ground." A chill swept through me. I wanted to bolt, but my feet wouldn't move. Thunder rolled outside, echoing the turmoil in my chest. The music had stopped. Even the rain seemed to hush for his sentences. "Well, good thing I don't make a habit of mistakes." I tried. "Once a night's enough." He laughed, deep and unexpected. It rattled me, almost human. Brave or foolish. Sometimes those are the same. His presence was magnetic, terrifying. In that moment, every instinct warned me to run, yet something else wanted to stay, to see what would happen if I did. He offered me a business card, pressed into my palm with deliberate force. "If you need help, call this number. Don't wait." I wanted to argue, wanted to push back, reclaim control. But something in his manner, the way he knew my name without asking, kept me silent. His gaze bore into mine, unblinking. "The city will change for those who dare to challenge me. Most people choose comfort. Some choose fire. Which am I?" My voice was barely above a whisper, but I needed to know. He smiled again, colder. Tonight you choose. The bell chimed. Gunshots split the night. I ducked instinctively, turning toward the window. Shadows flickered, movement in the street. His men moved fast and orderly. He stepped between me and the danger. The world narrowed to the heat of his presence, the echo of violence outside. I wondered, not for the last time, whether I was brave or foolish, whether courage would keep me alive or get me killed. As the chaos erupted, I clung to the business card, the weight of his promise anchored in my palm. Whatever happened next, we were bound together now, by accident, mistake, or fate. Glass shattered behind us. Screams flared and died, swallowed by panic as the cafe transformed from haven to chaos in the space of a heartbeat. Luca's men surged, blocking entry, guns drawn, every movement sharp and lethal. I ducked instinctively, breath tangled in my throat, eyes searching for safety where there was none. Luca caught my wrist, gentle, commanding. "Stay close," he growled, his voice stripped of charm. "Don't let go." I barely had time to protest as he pulled me behind him, his form a wall between me and the cloudburst of violence. Fear became a living thing, gnawing at my resolve. My feet scraped tile as I stumbled to keep up. Bullets chewed into plaster, the hiss of danger making my skin crawl. Outside, police lights stuttered in the night, blue and red bleeding together as chaos pressed in. His men flanked us, urgency in every step. I wanted to scream, to run, to demand answers, but pride and terror warred inside me, a storm that left no space for words. "I'm not your prisoner," I spat, twisting against his grip. He looked over his shoulder, eyes cold iron. "No, but you're under my care." "There's a difference." We burst into the alley, rain smacking my cheeks, the city suddenly vast and hostile. Luca's car, a Black Panther crouched, waited, doors already open. He pushed me in, sliding beside me, command evident even in the way he settled into the seat. His bodyguards filled the other car, eyes everywhere, voices low. Inside the sleek Escape, I shrank against butter-soft leather, breath hitching. The chill of the storm crept under my clothes, mixing with the heat of adrenaline. Luca leaned closer, his presence magnetic, his nearness making the world tilt. He examined a gash on my hand, thumb brushing blood away, his touch cautious. "Unexpected, you're hurt." His tone surprised me, softer than the violence behind us. "I can manage." I tried to pull away, but he wrapped gauze with a skill that felt practiced. For a moment, the chaos faded to something intimate, fragile, almost tender. My heart thudded, emotion ricocheting between fear and longing. We sped through wet streets, sirens fading. My phone buzzed, a message from an unknown number. Luca snatched it, reading before I could protest. "Don't trust anyone tonight," he ordered, returning the phone. "Not even yourself," contrast again. His softness vanished, replaced by command. "What do you want from me?" I demanded, choking back anger and relief. He hesitated, the answer buried. "Protection," he said. "From enemies you don't know yet. From yourself, if it comes to it." Lightning forked outside, illuminating his profile. Shadow and substance, past and present. I stared at him, senses gathering fragments, cologne mingling with rain, warmth against my trembling skin, the electric spark of danger in his eyes. My internal monologue twisted. Was this shelter or new captivity? Was he savior or captor? He studied me, jaw tense. Bravery is useless if it's reckless. And control is useless if it's lonely. I shot back, surprising us both. His lips curled, not quite a smile. "Banter suits you. Tell me, do you always fight protection? Only when it feels like possession," I whispered. A car passed, headlights slashing through mist, and tension spiked anew. His phone vibrated, a voice message. He played it aloud. "She's not to be trusted. Watch her closely." Every nerve in my body went rigid. The words weren't his, but the warning was. I caught the flash of conflict in Luca's eyes. Distrust, disappointment. "Who sent that?" I asked, voice thin. He didn't answer, studying me as if weighing possibility against danger. "You'll stay at my place tonight. You're not safe anywhere else," he ordered his driver. voice clipped. I chewed on the threat, the twist, trust splintered, danger coiling even in safety's embrace. As neon lights blurred past the windows, I realized escape was impossible. This alliance was formed not of choice, but of necessity. Somewhere deep in my bones, I wondered, would trusting Luca be my undoing, or the only way out alive? I woke to unfamiliar softness, the kind reserved for hotel suites or dreams, never my reality. The room was vast, ceiling lost in shadow, drapes spilling silver light across the hardwood. My heart stuttered as memory snapped back. Rain-soaked alley, gunshots, the car, Luca's jaw tensed with something between fury and care. Now, silence reigned, except for the slow tick of a grandfather clock. I wanted to believe I was safe, that the danger was outside these walls, but anxiety gnawed, persistent. I glanced around, noting the camera near the ceiling, the keypad by the door, the way the bed felt too perfect, staged. My skin tingled as I realized I was being watched. Adrenaline hissed beneath my skin. "Luca!" My voice broke the silence, echoing off stone. He appeared in the doorway, eyes dark and stormy, suit jacket discarded for a white shirt clinging to strong shoulders. "You're awake," he said, not asking, stating, as though the world bent to his expectations. I sat up, pulling the covers tight. "You put cameras in here?" His jaw tightened. "For your safety." "Whose safety, Luca? Mine or yours?" My anger sparked, a flare against the cold decor. He crossed to the window, back to me. "You shouldn't have been at the cafe tonight. They were searching for someone, found you instead." I tried to hide my tremor. "And the cameras?" He turned, eyes full of something I couldn't name. Shame? Regret? "I wasn't willing to lose you over a mistake." Pressed against the velvet headboard, I let the sting of betrayal slip into something softer. Confusion. Longing. "I don't need protection. I need trust." He came closer, gentler than before. "Trust isn't safe, Ella. You know that better than anyone." Contrast struck. His control faltered under the weight of vulnerability. I saw it in his hands, shaking ever so slightly when he reached for me. I eased away, uncertain. "Why me?" The question floated, tension humming. He hesitated, voice low. "A woman once paid the price for my arrogance. I remember everyone I fail. I studied him. Brave and broken, dangerous and desperate." Something inside me softened. "I forgive mistakes, Luca, but not cages." His eyes flickered, jaw clenched. "I've built cages for myself longer than you've known. I don't want you in one." We hung there, suspended in a strange intimacy. Our argument wore thin, emotion pooling in silence. I found myself wishing the distance between us would shrink, craving the kind of closeness his vulnerability invited. He reached, almost touching my hand, but stopped. "Leave if you want. The city won't protect you, but I will." I hesitated. The freedom I wanted felt hollow now. Danger breathing through every window, betrayal lurking in every shadow. But the moment swerved. His phone lit up, urgent. A text, "She's leverage. Move quickly." I saw the crack in his armor then, real and raw. Luca's eyes glistened. Not fear, but guilt. Suddenly the threat was no longer abstract, but personal. I sat beside him, tension dissipating into something fragile. "I can't run, Luca. I don't even know who's hunting us." "Who betrayed you?" He shook his head. "A name isn't safe until it's over." My resolve hardened. "I won't let you fight alone." He looked at me, searching for honesty and maybe hope. "I need you sharp, not sentimental." I nodded, heat blooming in my chest, trust warring with survival. We drifted together, almost in touch, mouths inches apart, angry, breathless. Our hearts galloped, words tangled, the silence pulsing with longing. Lost, we collided in a near kiss that tasted of defiance, but danger wasn't done. A silent alarm blinked red on his phone. "They're coming." The moment snapped, danger and tenderness bleeding together. I gripped his hand, steadying myself. "We face it together, Luca. No more cages." He looked at me, brave, ferocious, afraid. Agreed. The world narrowed, hearts pounding. Shadows waited at the door, but I was done hiding. Whatever storm approached, I was in it now. by his side, for better or worse. The city always seemed to hold its breath right before disaster struck. I sat beside Luca, tension coiling between us like a living thing, while outside, night melted into bruised purple dawn. The chill inside his apartment clung to my skin as the first cracks in his world began to show. The alarm faded, replaced by grim determination in his eyes. "We need answers," I said, my voice steady, riding the storm in my chest. "We'll get them," Luca replied, clipped and reassuring, but I wasn't sure which of us he meant to comfort. His phone pinged again. This time the message flashed across the screen too quickly for me to read, but the way his jaw set told me everything. "Someone inside," he said, voice fissured. "A traitor." "What's the plan?" I asked. My hands fidgeted, searching for purpose. He threw me a gun, cold metal catching the pale morning light. "You'll stay behind me," he instructed. "No heroics." A bitter laugh slipped out. "You're the only one allowed courage?" The back-and-forth banter sharpened every nerve and made the looming threat feel almost manageable. He cut through the apartment to a hidden panel, pulling out files and cash, handing me a passport, a new name whose edges felt both sharp and soft. "You run if I fall. Don't hesitate." Contrast twisted. Bold, commanding Luca, pushing control, but the tremor in his hand as he handed over the passport revealed fear. I squeezed his wrist. "Not without you." His reply, just a look, hardened and haunted. Moments later, chaos bled into reality. His trusted Lieutenant Paolo burst through the door, grim-faced, eyes wild. Luca's men intercepted him, but Paolo's first words slithered out, poisonous. "The rivals know she's here. They paid 10 times our price." Shots cracked down the hallway. The apartment was under siege. Windows splintered as bullets dug into walls, glass raining down as sirens began, both outside and in my chest. Luca moved fast, barking orders, looking for the breach. In the confusion, I saw Paolo slip away, fury in his features. I followed on impulse, heart leaping so violently I thought it might fail. The stairwell was cold, sharp with broken glass and fear. Paolo aimed elsewhere. I screamed, alerting Luca. Gunfire traded thunder with the storm outside. Luca flung himself into the fray, his form blocking me from Paolo's line of fire. I shot wildly, instinct, not skill, missing Paolo but sending him fleeing. My arm burned, a graze, blood slick and hot. Luca dragged me to cover, swearing under his breath. "Stay down. Don't be a hero," he ordered, voice breaking. The building rocked with violence. Shouts, explosion, footsteps pounding. Every sense was sharpened. Smell of cordite, sweat slick on palms, tiles rough under knees. Paolo shouted, voice twisted with betrayal. "She's the weakness." "You let her in!" Luca's reply thundered through the chaos. Only the weak betray their own. I was dizzy, between pain and adrenaline, torn by fear and the heady rush of action. Luca kept close, shooting back, fighting for our lives. My breath came in ragged pulls, mind-flashing memories. Cinnamon buns in the cafe, soft jazz, warmth. All obliterated by ice, metal, blood. Contrast. The intimacy of last night's confessions was burned away, replaced by violence, survival, primal drive. It wasn't just about loyalty anymore. It was about life or death. Paolo escaped, footsteps vanishing. "He took something," Luca spat, scanning the chaos. "What?" I asked, voice bruised. He looked at me, vulnerable, lost. Proof, evidence, enough to destroy everyone. I gritted my teeth, determined. "We'll get it back." Another explosion, this time outside, on the street level. The siege ended as suddenly as it began, with police sirens taking over the song of war. We huddled in ruin, battered and breathless, Luca's protective arm a lifeline I couldn't reject. Blood smeared his cheek. I wiped it away, trembling, whispering, "Promise me. If we fall together." He laughed grimly, echoing my own fear. "Deal, Ella. No more cages." The violence faded to stillness, punctured only by the tension of what Paolo stole. What would happen if he used it? And whether survival was ever more than temporary. As daylight crept in, I knew nothing about us would ever be simple again. The only thing left was action. and the knowledge that the next fight waited just beyond the shadows. The aftermath felt unreal, like waking from a nightmare and finding the bruises remained. Luca and I found shelter in a forgotten safe house, hidden out past the city's feverish heart, where even sirens faded into steady rain. The chill in the air was more forgiving than the frost in my bones. There, walls thin and old, we collapsed into a silence that hummed with exhaustion and trust not yet earned. He built a fire, hands steady though knuckles bore purple marks of the morning's violence. I soaked in the heat, breathing the spicy tang of wood smoke that mingled with Luca's cologne, a scent now tied to the memory of gunshots and gentle bandages. My mind galloped with what-ifs, but the flames cast everything in soft gold, distracting me with the simple luxury of feeling safe. For now. We didn't rush to fill the silence. My body ached, bruised in places I didn't know I had. He moved close enough that his warmth radiated across the battered space between us. I wanted to ask questions. About Paolo. About what he lost. About what I'd become since leaving the cafe. But fear and gratitude tangled into awkwardness. Most people run after a morning like that, Luca finally said. Voice rougher than usual. I swallowed hard. Running only works if there's somewhere to go. He studied me, eyes soft but shielded. You think you're trapped? Contrast. A few hours earlier, I would have said yes. Now, sanctuary twisted into something almost tender, a chance to breathe beside a man whose world was falling apart but who could still offer warmth. I think I'm choosing, I replied, surprising myself. He nodded, watching the fire, lost in thought. Choosing is dangerous. Sometimes I envy those who just run. Something honest flickered behind his eyes. A boyhood lost to violence. Regret filed away where I could almost reach it. We talked then. About families. He told me of a promise made to a dying mother, a vow broken by necessity. I told him about my father's bakery, how cinnamon on my skin meant belonging and safety and love. I didn't realize I'd missed until tonight. Our words deepened, vulnerable. I saw the cracks in his armor. He confessed he never thought safety could coexist with love. I confessed I never thought love could feel like danger and hope at the same time. Then came the contrast turn. My phone buzzed. A text from my estranged sister. Her voice fragile, needing help, somewhere out in rain-soaked city. The world outside pressed in again, threatening our fragile bubble. Luca wrapped a blanket around my shoulders, fingers lingering. For a heartbeat, our faces drew close, his mouth inches from mine, thunder in my chest, heat blooming in my cheeks. The first kiss was hesitant, needy, as if testing whether connection could overwrite fear. It almost did, but something in his posture changed. His phone went off. He stiffened. The message was short. Sanctuary's compromised. His voice was low, steely. I froze, heart dropping. They found us? He nodded, jaw set. We run. The quiet, the warmth, all evaporated in an instant. He reached for my hand. I squeezed back, resolve blooming through the ache. No matter how gentle the sanctuary, danger always waits at the threshold. The moment Luca's words hit me, sanctuary's compromised, it was like being shoved off the edge of a dream. The warmth we'd kindled fell away, replaced by the howling wind outside. He gathered only what he could carry, jaw set, always glancing at the door as if expecting it to explode inward. We slipped through back alleys, rain slicking the world in black and chrome. My phone pulsed again. Another message from my sister, this one a video. My blood chilled. Her face streaked with tears, duct tape at her wrists, a cold-voiced stranger beside her. Trade the man, or you'll never see her again. A midnight ransom. Luca saw my hands tremble as I typed for help. What is it? He asked, voice so low I almost didn't hear it above the storm. My sister. They have her. They want you in exchange. He didn't blink. That's how they hunt. Turn loyalty into a weapon. I felt sick. Anger, terror, guilt spiraling. I have to go. I can't let them hurt her. Pain flickered in his eyes, but he didn't argue. You're not going alone. He wiped a tear from my cheek, both gentle and infuriatingly calm. "But if we both go, we both die," I whispered, voice cracking. A beat of silence. "There are things worth dying for. You make the list." Our alliance was more than necessity now. It felt like drowning and clinging to a lifeline all at once. He called his men, arranged drop points, but I insisted. "You don't get caught because of me." "Get somewhere safe, Luca. I'll trade myself." His grip tightened. "No. If you're their pawn, so am I." Contrast snapped again. His unbreakable command met my stubborn hope. I used to be afraid of being alone. Now I'm terrified of anyone loving me. We moved fast, nerves scalded raw. Luca prepped me. "Never admit fear. Never let them see you bleed." It sounded like a deathbed confession. Part instruction, part prayer. At the drop, a gutted warehouse, only roof beams and wind kept us company. Shadows fluttered as rival men sealed off every exit. Cold steel pressed to my back, hands tying me fast, while across the room, Luca held his own stare, pride and pain warring in his eyes. My sister sobbed, begging for release. "Ella, don't, please!" I caught Luca's gaze, tried to pour every unspoken promise into that silent space between us. The trade began. Words blurred in the shuffle of threats and cash, and I realized too late I'd become the sacrifice instead of the savior. Hands moved too quickly. One rival ringleader, glinting with sweat and malice, closed the gap, gun pressed to Luca's ribs. Another dragged my sister away. "No," I screamed, fighting bonds, lungs burning. Luca struggled, but his captors outnumbered him. "Let her go. I'm here. She's not part of this." Luca's answer, "Touch her, and you answer to me." His voice could crack mountains. They laughed. "You're finished. Your world is finished, all for this little waitress?" The moment fractured. In my head, a blur of bakery mornings, his hand in mine, that soft promise in the safe house. I wanted that world back. I met my sister's gaze. "When you get the chance, run." A mask of violence fell across the rivals' faces. Shots rang out, chaos. Luca wrestled free. Adrenaline and desperation made me sharp. I broke free just as Luca tackled the gunman. My sister ran. Her screams vanished into the rain. For us, there was no escape. The ringleader held a gun to my chest. "You make your choice, loyalty or love." I stared him down. "They're the same if you're brave enough." He grinned, squeezing the trigger. But Luca hurled himself between us. Pain, panic, the ring of gunshots, and suddenly, the cavernous warehouse emptied of everything but the sound of my own heartbeat. In the madness, Luca and I dragged each other out, battered and alive, as my sister's silhouette disappeared into the night. The rivals regrouped, but we'd already vanished into the storm's mouth. Tonight, love demanded sacrifice. Hope survived, bloodied, but so did I. The game had changed, and I knew the real cost would come due soon. The storm outside felt gentle compared to what had swallowed us in the warehouse. The city's heart thundered in my veins, driving me forward as Luca's blood streaked my hands and I barely dared to breathe. My sister was gone, escaped, yet the cost of saving her was written all over our battered bodies. In that moment, love was war and survival demanded violence. Luca's grip was vice-like as we staggered out. Sirens wailed, angry and distant, but the true threat pulsed behind us, rivals regrouping, hungering for vengeance. "No turning back," Luca said, voice reduced to a ragged tremor. "They'll come for you, for me. This is only the beginning." Awe and terror collided in my chest. I pressed closer, drawing strength from the rough rasp of his breath. "Let them come. I'm done running," he smiled, a stripped, broken thing, before leading me into the night. We wove through back streets and neon alleys, pain slowing our steps, but never our resolve. The city reeked of gasoline, fear, and distant hope. Everything shimmered on the razor's edge between death and rebirth. We regrouped in a safe spot, Luca forcing his men to keep watch outside. Sweat dripped down my forehead, mingling with rain as adrenaline burned through bruises and cuts. Luca handed me another gun, cold weight in my palm, a silent command. "Fight or fall." "I'm not leaving," I said, voice low. He nodded, eyes wild. You're not alone. Contrast snapped. Where once his protection felt like imprisonment, now it was partnership. I'd crossed a line. From captive to combatant, conflict detonated suddenly. The rival boss, Gregor, appeared with twice as many men, each brandishing weapons and malice. Luca and I took cover, every sense aflame with survival. Bullets splintered concrete. The air thundered with echoes. I scrambled behind overturned crates, firing at shadows, while heartsick fear gnawed at the edges of bravado. Gregor's voice rang out, taunting. "She's cost you everything, Luca." "Not everything," Luca roared, eyes finding mine. "She gave me something worth fighting for." That declaration cut deeper than the violence. Power shifted. Gregor's men hesitated, forced to confront passion with guns raised. I caught Gregor's gaze and forced myself to speak, words trembling but true. "Maybe loving me makes him weak. Maybe it makes both of us stronger." Chaos descended. Gregor's men surged, shots whistling past my ears. I dived, rolling, blood pounding through every cell. The world slowed, the texture of concrete beneath my hands, acrid smoke in my throat, the shouts and grunts blurring to savage music. Through the madness, I saw my sister's frightened face at the edge of the fray, hidden, terrified. I willed her to vanish. "Run!" I screamed, my voice swallowed by the night. Luca grappled with Gregor directly, two titans colliding. Blood and sweat mixed in the neon haze, and for a moment, I saw the child inside both men, afraid, desperate, clinging to life. Their blows were brutal, each one ringing with the ghosts of old failures. I flanked Gregor, heart galloping, risking everything. He turned his gun on me, eyes blazing with contempt. "You're the sickness," he spat. "He'll die because of you." My reply, "If loving me is a sickness, maybe dying for it is a cure." I fired. First time I'd hit anything in my life. Gregor stumbled as Luca lunged, taking the man down with ferocious force. The rival men retreated, scattered by our unity and resolve. Danger faded, the world recoiling from violence. I rushed to Luca, cradling his bruised face. Tears tracked through dirt and blood, mixing memories of cinnamon buns and safety with the taste of gunpowder and triumph. "We did it," he breathed, voice shredded and precious. "We did it together," I replied, every word a vow. We staggered out, city spinning around us, but the pain of victory hounded every step. One of Luca's friends lay dying, sacrifice pinning hope to tragedy. The cost was visible, unflinching, unforgettably sharp. Side by side, we limped into dawn, my sister safe, Gregor's threat evaporated but not destroyed. Sirens warbled nearby, echoing the wild ache in my chest. Contrast again, courage and vulnerability, victory and loss, bruises and kisses. Luca squeezed my hand. "I'd fall 1,000 times, Ella, if it means standing beside you." "I'm not afraid anymore," I whispered, and even I believed it. The world slowed, rain washing blood from street, sunrise glinting on shattered glass. For a heartbeat, I felt invincible, but the danger hadn't truly left. Gregor's eyes haunted me, full of revenge and unfinished business. As we vanished into the city's labyrinth, battered but unbowed, I knew the story wasn't truly over. There was a final threat waiting to tear us asunder, a secret not yet confessed, a force determined to break what we'd fought so hard to build. And as dawn burned through the horizon, I clung to Luca's hand, promising myself I wouldn't let love go quietly. Dawn crept thin and pale across the city, revealing a world pieced together from broken glass and bruised hope. Luca and I lay sprawled on the floor of an abandoned flat, exhaustion weighing every limb. The pain in my body sang a litany of battles survived, but my mind ached more for what we hadn't resolved. The questions that chased us, the threats that lingered in silence. Luca pressed a makeshift bandage to his shoulder, the deep red stark against fragile morning light. I cleaned a cut on my cheek, fingertips trembling. "We're alive," I whispered, voice cracked but stubborn. He managed a half smile, eyes heavy. "Alive is good, but safe is a long way off." The room felt haunted by choice, emptied by the ghosts of men we lost in the fight, haunted by the chill of what comes next. I glanced toward the battered door, half expecting Gregor's shadow to materialize. Instead, only silence pressed close. We had won, but nothing felt finished. Contrast stung. In the aftermath of action came paralysis. Luca, once invincible, now looked vulnerable, haunted by what surviving had cost. I found myself tracing the lines of his face, the exhaustion written in the slump of his shoulders, the way he flinched at distant sirens. My thoughts wouldn't let me rest. Would we ever be free, or simply trade one cage for another? Did surviving make us stronger, or leave us marked for destruction? As I bandaged my ankle, Luca leaned beside me, uncertainty etched in every line. He touched my hair with gentle fingers, pausing to breathe me in. After this, do you still want to stay? I swallowed. Where would I go? He studied me, hesitant. With me? I closed my eyes, waiting for clarity. My heart said yes, but my mind saw danger, law, vengeance, future losses. I want you, even if it's only for now. He didn't answer, his silence heavier than any promise. A knock shattered the quiet. Instinct sent our hands to guns before sense restored us. Outside, instead of Gregor, a detective in plain dark clothes waited, face grim and familiar, a threat with a badge. I let Luca speak first, his voice steely. You tracking us for survival or revenge? The detective replied, cold. Depends what you call justice. Ella, your name came up this morning in connection with theft and murder. Things are messier than you realize. Fear crept up my spine. I met his eyes. We're not criminals tonight. Only survivors, he nodded, not convinced. You're both on thin ice. He tossed a folder onto the cracked counter. Inside, photographs. Me at the cafe, Luca with Paolo, the warehouse burning. The last page was a promise. Gregor's face, circled in red, a message underneath, he will come. And he does not forgive. The tension ratcheted higher. The detective left, warning, choose sides carefully. Next time, there'll be no warnings. I closed the folder, heart aching. We're targets. Even now. Luca wrapped an arm around me, holding tight. We face it together. Always. But even unity felt frail in the lingering dark. Contrast again. Victory and vulnerability. Together and threatened. Free but exposed. I wanted his strength to be enough. I wanted my courage not to waver. Before he went to sleep, Luca turned in, voice soft. If you wake before me, run only if you must. Otherwise, stay and fight. As I lay beside his quiet form, exhaustion pulling me under, questions simmered. Was love a shield, or simply the most beautiful target? Did surviving this battle mean we could conquer the next? Or would it only ensure new wounds? Outside, sirens faded, city returning to restless motion, but inside my chest, tension burned on. Where did we go from here? Were we fugitives, lovers, survivors, or all three together? And as sleep claimed me, I knew that dawn would bring more than light. It would bring new dangers, choices to test our bond, and a threat that would not let us rest. Would we run, or would we finally stand and fight? Moonlight found me before sleep did. I lay on a thin mattress, city shadows stitched across my arms, breath shallow and restless. Luca's steady pulse beside mine was a comfort I could touch but never truly hold. My body hurt, but my mind circled the path of memory, each twist and split reminding me of how far I'd come from the girl who only wanted quiet nights, counted tips, and tucked herself into dreamless sleep. I stared at the ceiling, counting the rise and fall of my chest, searching for stillness. But stillness never came easy after violence. Every echo in the walls reminded me of sirens, screams, and a love that kept surviving disaster. I realized then, survival was not the same as safety. Love was not a promise, just a choice, repeated when you didn't know the ending. My thoughts tangled. Did I change because he forced me to, or because something burned inside me too fiercely to be quenched by fear? My fingertips found the business card from that first night, edges worn but words still bold. I thought of Luca's strength and hope, the way he'd let himself be vulnerable, imperfect, utterly dangerous. I'd seen his armor crack. I'd watched him bleed and forgive. Who are you now? I asked myself, voice quiet so it wouldn't wake him. I didn't yet know. But I was less afraid of the answer. Gently, I reached for my wallet, fingers trembling, pulled out my old cafe name tag. Ella, it read, plain and naive. I held it over the candle flame, watched it curl and warp. One identity dying so another could begin. There was pain, but also relief, the space inside my chest, unfamiliar but promising. Luca stirred, mumbling my name. I touched his cheek, leaning down, whispering, "We'll face whatever comes. But I'll face it as myself." He smiled, barely awake, eyes bright even in the dim. "You already do." I squeezed his hand, feeling the ache and the hope merge until they were impossible to separate. I didn't know what tomorrow held. Police, revenge, forgiveness, escape. But for the first time, I chose uncertainty on purpose. I chose to stand beside danger, not hide from it. I chose myself, even if it meant having to fight for every breath. The city blinked awake beyond our window, and I let that uncertainty settle, around Luca, around me, around what we'd built from ruin. When the end arrived, whatever form it took, I would meet it with eyes open. Sirens cut through the hush, just as sunlight painted the cracked windows gold. I jolted awake, pulse leaping, Luca's name caught in my throat. He sensed danger instantly, reaching for me in the growing light, instinct born not from fear, but from survival. The knock at the door wasn't a question. It was a threat wrapped in civility. My heart pounded, the echo of every nightmare come to collect. Luca's eyes flashed with warning, ancient and unbroken. "We have to leave. Now," he whispered, fingers cold but steady as he pulled me upright. As I threw what little I owned into a bag, I noticed the envelope slid under the door. No return address, just my name scrawled in red across the front. My hands shook as I tore it open. Inside, a photograph of Luca and me together. A blood-red X slashed through the center, and a single sentence. "You're both mine now." "It's Gregor," I murmured, panic and something colder slipping beneath my skin. Luca took the photo, jaw clenching, eyes burning with promise and pain. "We're never free, are we?" I asked, not expecting comfort. He pressed his forehead to mine, voice low and honest. "Maybe freedom isn't for people like us, but I won't let anyone take you from me." The sirens grew louder, footsteps pounding up the stairwell. Desperation surged, one last stolen second in the mid-morning light. I burned the photograph on the stove, mourning the fragile peace I'd believed could last. Just as we reached the door, it burst inward. Shouts, armed men, chaos. I turned toward Luca, fear and love locked in my chest. "Whatever happens, don't let go." He grasped my hand tighter. "Never, Ella," he breathed, even as the world shattered around us. The final sensation, his hand in mine, my pulse roaring, the snap of cuffs or bullets yet unknown, a future ripped open with every breath. Outside, the city waited. Inside, hope and dread danced in the widening gap between what we'd survived and what waited beyond the threshold. And just before darkness took us, I wondered, would love be enough, or would it cost us everything?